Today, we're going to talk about a topic that I love. It's one of my favorite topics, and I think that this episode is going to be very interesting for you. We're going to talk about English pronunciation. So this is a very relevant topic for all of you, because if you're listening to me, this means that you're learning English. So pronunciation is probably the element of English that is talked about the least. It's probably the element that is the least focused on when you learn English with a teacher or in school. Pronunciation is a hard topic, especially English pronunciation, but I love it. It's one of my favorite aspects of teaching English, as you can probably tell by now, especially if you've joined my membership, because you've seen that I do a lot of training and practice with the sounds of English. So I really like this topic, and I want to talk about English pronunciation in general, and about the difficulties with pronunciation, and about how you can improve your pronunciation. Okay, let's talk about pronunciation, specifically English pronunciation, and even more specifically, American English pronunciation. So, English is one of the hardest languages to pronounce like a native speaker. All languages have their challenges when it comes to pronunciation. However, if you want to speak like an American, for example, and you didn't learn English as a child, that is really, really, really hard. I can't even emphasize enough how hard that is. In my whole life, I don't think I've ever heard a person who learned English as an adult and speaks exactly the same way that an American speaks, for example. I don't think I've ever seen that in my whole life. I've seen a couple people who have gotten close, who've gotten very close, actually. But I don't think I've ever seen or met a person who sounds exactly like a native speaker if they learned as an adult. Of course, if you learned as a kid or even as a teenager, yeah, you can achieve that level. Many people achieve that level, especially if you learned as a kid. Well, you can just become a native speaker, of course. However, I'm talking to you guys who, most of you are adults and you're learning English as a foreign language. And so you have this unique challenge of learning English as an adult and trying to improve the way that you speak and your pronunciation. So that's the first thing that I wanted to mention, is that it's really hard to sound like a native speaker if you're learning as an adult. So the first thing you need to do is lower your expectations. Okay? So why is English pronunciation so hard? Well, the main reason is because in English, stress is everything. Stress is king. Okay? English is what we call a stress-timed language. Basically, what that means is that we have more or less the same amount of time between stressed syllables. So even if you have a word or a phrase where there is a stressed syllable and then 3 unstressed syllables and then another stressed syllable, that time between the stressed syllables would be pretty much the same as if you had another word or another phrase where it's one stressed syllable, one unstressed syllable, and one stressed syllable.